Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of What's in My Insurance Policy. I know you were probably missing me last week, so I'm coming back with a vengeance this week. Today, in honor of these super windy conditions here in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, I want to talk about wind coverage on the property policy. So you're probably thinking, how is wind coverage any different than the other perils? And perils are causes of loss within my property policy. Well, an insurance company looks at wind as a catastrophic peril, meaning it's going to affect a lot of people, a lot of their clients, their insureds, at the same time, which isn't good for their balance sheet, as history has shown through hurricanes, windstorms, etc. So they've structured the policy in ways that protects them a little bit, and they do this through a few different ways. And it's going to vary on your insurance company, where your buildings and locations are, but one of the first ways they address the issue is through deductible. So you might be a company that has a $10,000 property deductible, but then if you go into the fine print, you're going to see you have a separate deductible for wind that could be 5%, subject to 5% of your total insured values, subject to a minimum of say $50,000 or $500,000. So that's the first thing. It could also just be a set, hey, we're going to do a higher minimum dollar amount that's fixed, say $500,000. Okay, they might sublimit your limit for wind loss. So even though you have $10 million of insured values, they might say, we're only going to give you $5 million worth of coverage. The other thing where it gets really tricky, or is it could be tiered based on the wind zone of your particular locations. So let's say you're based in Cleveland, Ohio, not really known as a wind zone, but you have some locations in Florida, maybe one in New Jersey, one on the Texas coast, or Galveston. You could then have multiple deductibles based on their wind zone. So it's certainly not cut and dry. It's something that is often glossed over, unfortunately, especially when values might be smaller at those locations, and the insured is at a location that's not in a wind zone, so they're not as familiar with it. Another thing that crops up is, when we think wind, we're usually thinking along the coast, but we see wind zones up, in the plain states, and they're going to get a wind/hail deductible. So they're going to be, that hail loss will be subject to a similar deductible structure. Where it gets even trickier is you could have a deductible based on your wind zone. You could also have a deductible based on a named storm. So named storm, we get into a bunch of different issues, because if you have flood, water, surge, what is a named storm? I mean, we saw some of these issues with Sandy, because technically Sandy wasn't a tropical storm when she made landfall back in 2012. And is that technically a named storm? That's going to be up to insurance companies, insurance commissioners got involved. So the bottom line is, it's windy out. Ask your broker, do I have a separate wind deductible? And while you're at it, say, what is it? How about flood? How about earthquake? Do I even have those coverages? Because a lot of times those will be excluded, or they're going to be subject to, sublimits and higher deductibles, aggregate limits. But that's a whole nother conversation. It's windy. Wind's on everyone's mind here in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Ask what the deductible is. Ask if there's a sublimit. Ask if it's different if you have multiple locations, if it's the same for all locations. Better be safe and sorry. Know what your coverage is beforehand, instead of finding out that you're going to be on the hook as a company out of pocket for a much higher amount than you might have budgeted for. I hope this helps. Hope everyone's having a great day. We'll see you again soon. See ya.